Thank you, Gohar, and thank you, Dr. Sana, for such a nice introduction. I hope in the mic you can hear me properly. Right. Okay, so Assalamu alaikum and very good afternoon, everyone. This is Sabah at Bahrain is with me for any question, answers, and the details. So, can you please switch the PowerPoint on? So Turnitin precisely is, we can say, an online tool for checking what we call similarity and not plagiarism. I say it first because Turnitin is kind of a software online, and its major purpose is to check your work, whatever you submit to it, whether it could be a page, it's a whole paper, it's a whole book or everything. Check its similarity against all the material that is available online. Sorry. Beautiful. Can I go ahead? Okay, so Turnitin precisely is an online tool for checking similarity of documents with other online documents. I say online documents only. If something is not available online, like for example, if our intermediate book is not online, we are not able to check our work against it. Or any other material like a very old book, which is not available online, this work will not be checked. Like for example, sometimes students copy that material from older books. The purpose is this, that you cannot check their work against anything, because we can check any work against all the material that is online available only. So that's some kind of problem with Turnitin. But this is, we can say, we are only predicting plagiarism because it is checking for similarity. Many of the similarities are not plagiarism, like a mathematical formula, a definition in English, scientific kind of theory, or words which have to be exactly copied. So why check similarity? Why we need to check similarity precisely? What happens that there is a requirement by Higher Education Commission, and all publications, publishers where we publish our research or any other book or monograph or writing material, there is a requirement that we always check that work against all the online available documents. So it's not copied. It's not copied material. I mean, it is not used without permission of the author. If this is used with permission of the author, then this is another case. So plagiarism, sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, just for a moment. Okay. So basically how Turnitin help us in that. Turnitin checks all our written work. Could be text, book, monograph, even one page, anything, against all the material that is available online. Okay. It's kind of a, we can say, algorithm. We'll not go into its software basics, but anyway, it cannot compare our writings with any work, I repeat that is not available online. Like he said, or an old book, some intermediate books, or things like that. So when we are checking particularly students' work, we have to keep this in mind, that they can try to use the material from the books which are not available online. They can easily check it because they're smart enough to do that. Now, it is the instructor's responsibility to see if similarity is plagiarism or not. Now, this is something very important. And for that, we have a feature which is called filters within Turnitin. Now, what happens that many of the things will be copied, but these are required to be copied, like a formula in mathematics, a definition. It could be a scientific theory. It could be any other thing. Sometimes it can exceed the limits. Like, for example, one of our students, let me share just one example. I hope this takes 1 minute or so. One of the students came to me and she was like in tears that her 70% plagiarism, similarity is shown in her work. Okay. And she was shocked because she thought she didn't copy anything. Okay. So I said, sit back and relax and let's check it. When I checked it, most of the work was basically, I don't know where you are of genetic sequences, but that was related to genetic sequences of the genes. And sequences of the genes are basically approximately 95% same. So, well, it was not copied, but she has to use that material because that has to be, supposed to be used as such. So it was showing similarity. So what I did through filters, I have removed that source and her 70% dropped to some 12% or so. So it means this is responsibility of the instructor to actually check the work that if that similarity is plagiarism or it is not. I mean, just I shared the example because this could be a disastrous, stressful situation for a student because they see it's their work is plagiarized, but it is actually not. For that, I'll just share the example of filters and how we use filters in Turnitin later. So what happened that first of all, I'll start with this, that what are the guidelines of Higher Education Commission about Turnitin? Because higher education, it's a paid, as Dr. Roxana mentioned, that this is a paid software and HEC pays for it for us so that we can use it, this facility. And what happens that HEC provides us certain guidelines. I have shared the link here. And there's a 3-page document available for instructor, for administrator, for all of the people who are using Turnitin, that how we should use it. Okay, so you can go through. I have copied a few important points from those 3 pages, but you can read those pages using this link. Now, the first important point is this, that how to interpret originality reports. What will happen that when we put any material into the Turnitin, I don't know how many of you are already using Turnitin or are aware of it? Many of you. Okay. So you're using it for your own work or maybe students' work too? Students work too. Okay. So I need not to go to the basics, very much basics anyway. So it means that when you use your work, for all those who don't know it, what happens that when you put any material in Turnitin, it actually creates what we call an originality report. And it tells us that how much similarity is there in percents with different sources. What happens that it is also telling us the sub-sources. When you use a source in, for example, a 5 or 10-page document, some material is copied from page 1, from page 2, page 3. So it also use sub-sources, further sources from that source. Break it up into further sources, right? Now, what happened? That HEC says that the similarity, I exactly read it, similarity index of the originality report is showing matches of submitted work with internet content. It is not verdict. It is not verdict that document with high similarity index is plagiarized. I have shared one example with you. See, 70% was not plagiarism. It was simply the material that student has to use for right. So that's the first thing. Then slide is not changing. Yeah. Right. Okay. So second point is number 5, that the similarities in the document may contain matches with author's previous work. It may be ignored if it's the same work. Now, what happens sometimes that the student have done another assignment which is very much related to its current work, and some parts may be used by the. I mean, for example, if a student has written a thesis and now they are writing a paper out of that thesis. Now, thesis is already available in the repository. Though we will talk about the repository function later, that we try not to use the right repository basically. But still, if a student's thesis is there in the repository due to requirement, and now they are writing a paper, and the material is looking similar, we should actually ignore that. So this is something that they are saying here. Then third thing, that the graphs, tables, formulae, other pictorial material is not matched through the service. Therefore, it will only offer similarities with text. So what happens that Turnitin yet is not having any checks or similarities with pictures or formulae, because formula as a picture will not be checked. Images, tables, formulae, these things are actually not checked precisely by Turnitin. I mean, Okay. To log in back. Done. Done. Okay. All right. So someone wanted to ask a question. Can they take a question between there? Sure.
I want to ask a question about
Yes.
plagiarism of students when they the whole class has submitted the assignment, and one or two students have 83 or 85% plagiarism. So they have the other class members have also used the same terms and definitions, but it is included in the 18% plagiarism, which you consider okay.
It is okay.
According to HSE, but this shows that this person has copied and pasted. So what in that sense, like you clearly see that it is something which this person has copied and pasted. It's not only terms and definitions.
What happens that you can easily check in the sources. Whenever you go to the this originality report, I'll just show here in the feedback thing. You can check because all the sources will be shown in different colors. In different colors, it's color coded. So whenever you click where it is showing in a color in red or yellow or blue, and the source will be shown there. And even you can click the source and you can find the whole of the details of the source from where they have used and which words are there in the source and which word they have copied. You can easily check that this is plagiarized or not. If you think that that is some, but I think that mostly this is a rare case when this much plagiarism, similarity is showing and student has not copied. Most time it will be copied. That should be a rare case that if it is showing like similarity of 80% or above and student has not plagiarized. This could be a rare case normally, as I have said. Okay. But what happens that mostly you can check it by the source. You click the source, you see what student have copied and what's there in the original source, and you can see, compare easily. The other option, good option is this, that you ask them to put their definitions in quotation marks, and you can remove the quotation marks in report and those are gone. And all other things will be simply plagiarized. So quotation marks are a good option for using this. Any formula, definition, anything, if it is there in quotation marks, you can simply exclude those. That's a good idea, doing that. Is it okay? Okay, let's move ahead. Okay, so now what happens that mostly we are supposed to use Turnitin through Moodle. And why you have to do this? Because what happens that when we add students to Turnitin directly, there's only problem that we have to remove those students later on after the semester is off manually, by ourselves. But in Moodle, this is possible that administrator of the Moodle can actually remove all the students of all the whole of the semester at the same time. So that's why we are recommended to use Turnitin through Moodle. So we do not have to do this effort that, if we have 30 plus students in each class, after the semester is over, we have to remove all the students manually. This will be an effort. So to actually remove this problem, we are supposed to use this by Moodle. But there is a problem that arises in that too. As Dr. Sana has mentioned, that we have a student limit of, it was 720 in earlier times. But now HEC has reduced it to approximately, if I'm not wrong, 320 some. So what happens that if all of the instructor ask their students to submit their report on Turnitin, and the first 320 students will be able to submit their report, and after that, no one will. Right now, this is the situation that we're facing because it's end of the semester. So to resolve the situation, we have another option. At the end, we'll talk about it, that we have to do what we call multiple file uploads through quick submit. So we'll talk about that. So right now we are starting with how to do that in Moodle. So first of all, step one is this, that we log into the Moodle. We have to log into the Moodle. Everyone is aware of Moodle and using it? Yes. Okay. So you move ahead. You have to give your password and username. You select your course. Any one, for example, I select this one. We go ahead. Now what happens that according to the settings, your course may appear here as week 1, week 2, week 3, or week 4. I have opted for like these topics. My course is topic wise. So here in this place, maybe you have all the weeks shown. But where you have to go basically to the settings button. Here you can see a wheel and this arrowhead. So we have to go to the settings. Then what happens that we have to go to this turn editing on. I think if you are using Moodle, you are aware of that already. So go ahead. Slide cover. All right. So what we have to do, go to any part where we want to add an assignment. For example, this is the part, this is the handouts, and any place where we want to go, we have to add an activity or resource. Okay. Here you can see this is the editable mode for anyone who is not very aware of Moodle. These signs are showing that we are in edit mode. So for example, because I have these, this may be a week 4. For example, I have these class activities, assignments, and more topics, okay, where I want to add assignment. This is your choice that you can, if you have weeks, you can add assignment in week 4, week 2, week 3, week 10, wherever you. I have to add it under the assignments because I arrange my course topic wise. So it's easy for the students to actually understand that. So I straight go to the assignments. Then add an activity or resource. This is the box that generally appear. In here, we have to select a Turnitin assignment and simply say add. Here we have to give the name of the assignment. This is a must thing because we can see this sign here, which shows basically that this is the thing we have to show add. Then we can give any description of the assignment. These two things are part of the Moodle and not of Turnitin. Okay. What happens that when you add an assignment in Turnitin, basically it creates or generates a class for you in the Turnitin, first of all. And you need not to make a class by yourself. So it's first of all, when you're making a Turnitin assignment, it's making a class for you in Turnitin and then generate an assignment. And then you are giving these details. So basically, Moodle is letting you in Turnitin indirectly here. Now we can display this description on the course page. And now submission type. What submission type you want? See, any submission type. It could be online text, cut and paste on copy and paste material. It could be a file upload. It could be many types of file upload or whatever. We can choose. It's our choice, whatever we want for our students to do. For example, sometimes we want them to write some text right away, like we give them a question or some activity or something, we want it to be checked straight away. Or sometimes we are allowing them a long-term assignment, they have to submit it like after 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they have to upload a file, which is Word, Excel, or any other file, is possible. So we have to select this submission type. A file upload, like a Word file, or text submission, online text, or maybe preferably you select any submission type if you allow call. It's your choice. Then second thing which is also important regarding Turnitin. Next thing is number of paths. How many paths you want the material to be in? Because what happens that when you are asking students for using references while writing their assignment, references for sure will add to the similarity index. Because references are the ones which are present at multiple places. Many other people also have used same reference. So it for sure will show similarity by adding 1% or like that. So what happens that sometimes instructors do this, that they ask their students to submit their paper in two files. One file which have all their content, right from TOC till the discussion or conclusion or whatever. And the second part have the reference section only. This is possible. And what happened that you check their file, only the file 1 for similarity and not the file 2. This is a solution that the reference part or the bibliography part is not added to the similarity index. And this is an ease for the instructor. And this is also allowed by HEC for different types of papers and things like that. So we can allow them that they submit 2 files. And maybe, yes, Mike, please. John? Zoom people will be able to hear.
So my name is Tanya Fatma. I'm from sociology department. I just wanted to ask, is this the same for apprentices as well, or the apprentice that gives most students had questions or cases that are well established? So would that also be excluded when we put the file up for similarity check? Thank you.
Yeah, very, I'll say appropriate question. What happens? I was just going to say this next, because what happened that sometimes here you can see the file limit is quite long. Sometimes we also want, because, images, graphs, text are also not going to be checked, as we have said. So there's a possibility that we put that material to see 3 files, ask students to make 3 files, one for images, because that be a heavier file or so, and the other one for the actual text, and third one for references. This is also possible. That's why Turnitin allows us to use multiple files. We have these many files and problem is resolved. Is that okay? Yes, we can select the file to be checked. Both all files will be separately checked. Okay. All right. So let's go. Next. Okay. So what are the next options? We can also select the file size, because sometimes these images will have, of course, very much like 48 MBs, 300 MBs. So when students can add basically images which are with a very high size, with high resolution, so the size will be higher. And we want our system not to slow down. So we can also select the size of the file. Next, that we can, sorry, these 2 buttons are too close. Sorry. So what happened that student originality report? Do we want our students to see the originality report? Yes or no? Can select it. Then next thing is Turnitin advanced options. Preferably, we should use this option as well. So let's go ahead with this. Here we are right now using the Turnitin option. So here we can see the student store student paper. This is something, the point which is the most important. Mostly, if it is a research paper cases, we suggest that we use the option of no repository. Because what happens that once a paper is in the repository, it's actually very difficult to remove it from there, and administrators have to do a lot of effort calling them and talking to them, and somehow they take a lot of time to actually remove that paper from the repository. So it is always suggested that if it is not an assignment, there is a repository, we should select no repository option, except for it's like a small assignment, which is just used for, we can say, the course purposes. We can make a repository, but what will be the drawback of it? I just want to tell, because, anyone can choose. What happened that no repository, the students' work will not be checked against each other's work, because no one's work is added to the repository. If they have copied material from each other, we will not be able to see that. So that will be the trouble with this. But of course, for research paper, say a book or a longer paper that has to be published, we should use the no repository option. But I say, for example, if it is a small course assignment, which is meant not to be published, we can use the repository option, and there is no problem with that. So this is the only problem that we face this week. The students' work will not be checked against each other. Right? If one has copied material from other, will not be able. Turnitin will not be able to check it because it's not online. Okay. And then there are more options. It's your choice. You can use multiple options, like you want to check against stored student papers from various universities in the world. Of course, yes, we should check it. Then check against internet. Yes. Check against journals, periodicals, bibliography. Do you want to exclude the bibliography? Yes or no? I think at least in social sciences, it should not. But I don't know. I'm not sure. But in sciences, it does not matter much. But in social sciences, I think it does matter for cross-referencing and things like that. So you can choose, it's your choice. You can choose, because you're the instructor, you have to decide that is it suitable or not. Then you can exclude quoted material. This is something which actually resolve our problem of those definition and things like that. So if you want to ask students, you use definition, they're allowed to do that. It's preferable that you simply ask them to put their definition or specific material into quotation marks, and you simply exclude these right here. You can say exclude quotation material. So what will happen? All the material which is quoted will not be checked against any internet periodical journal or anything. So that will not be shown into your similarity index and will not unnecessarily increase the index simply. So you are not actually, you need not to do that later at a later stage. It is done initially. Then there is another option, exclude small matches. Now, this could be done by words of the persons. This is also a very important and useful option. Now, what happened that excludes small matches? We can do it by words of this. See, for example, there are certain things which are used, which are added to the similarity index unnecessarily, like something of two words. Like, let me share my own example. See, I'm using physiology, so it's like type 2 diabetes. Now, type 2 diabetes, these two words will be present in almost every next paper of my field. So what will happen? This will increase the similarity index unnecessarily high. Now, what I can do to resolve this, that I can use this option, I'll say here, that exclude small matches, 2 words. If these are of 2 words, do not add this to similarity index. So this is another thing that can solve our problem. So for example, I say in my paper, type 2 diabetes will appear 50 times. Then my similarity index will be for sure high by 10% or like. So preferably you can do that. Also, we can do that, for example, this will also show, we can also do that in percents. Let's go to the next slide. Not shown, sorry. I think that slide was there, but anyway. Okay, I mean, in place of these words, we can also use percents. For example, there is a work which is showing 1% similarity with 100 sites. Okay. That will, for example, if I'm using type 2 also, and it is 1% similar to many documents. Now my index is unnecessarily high due to only 1% similarity. See, all sources are 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%. Okay. So I can also select that exclude matches by 1%. Then this will exclude all those sources which are matching, which are similar by 1%. And that will resolve my problem. And the index will be lower, as it should be.
Dr. Muhammad Mustafa is saying as a comment in chat that is there any setting which allow us to check similarity among the submitted assignments only?
I think no. Oh, yes, sorry, yes, there is.
Okay.
Can I move my slides?
Sure.
I'll come back here to 23, okay? Here. Well, not only the submitted assignment, but at least the student assignments. So we have this option in Quick Submit that we can select only such student papers. Not only our students, but all the students have submitted the assignments, not the periodical journals, books and everything or internet. We can check the work against only student papers. There's a possibility. But this will not be students of only our own university, but students of all the universities all over the world, all of those who have submitted their work. So this is possible in this way, but not exactly amongst our class, if you want to do that. If you switch the repository option on, then only. Yes, in that case, we have to actually use the repository option, add to the repository option. Yes. We also have I think if I'm not wrong, FCC repository is also there. We can also add those to the repository through, but still, it will check all the repositories of all the universities and not only FCC. Internet and that's a problem.
Miss
Yes.
Sylvia Machado is asking that does Turnitin check similarity among the submitted assignments? Meaning if I submit a bunch of assignments for a particular course, will Turnitin check the similarity among these? Had a couple of students that submitted very similar assignments, but Turnitin didn't detect the similarity among those.
Well, what happens that students are also smart, and what happens that they have many different software available online, tools available online, which can actually effectively change the words with similar words, matching words. And now what happens that we also have a solution to that because teachers also have to be smart and students are smart. So what happens that we can find out the mismatched words, the words which are out of place. This is the simple solution to this. If they will do it, of course, many of them will do it. So what happens that we can find out the words which are out of place. If the assignment is having many words out of place, right? And sentence structure is not as it should be. Then we can also guess that they have modified it too. But of course, we do not have proof of that. So, it's very difficult to actually reduce the marks or whatever, but at least you can get an idea that they have done this. Because it is what those softwares are doing simply because, what's the Turnitin theory? That Turnitin actually checks the words with words, right? Words with words. And what those softwares are doing, because they know that Turnitin is checking the words in sequence, they actually change the words with similar words, right? Thesaurus, right? So what happens ultimately that many words, in which are similar to your word, but are not exactly fitting into the sentence, right? And that because that is only software, it is not a human mind. So it doesn't know that this word is misfit here. So you can actually check the misfit words, and this will easily indicate those use of those tools. But of course, there are 3-4 tools, I think. I don't remember the names, but
the option you're talking about, where we can find it.
This we have to do it manually. With ourselves. Misfit words in the sentences, mostly. This is the real indication of that. Any other question? Okay, so let's move ahead. Okay, so next, ultimately, we save and display it, and then we are on what will happen that we will see it something like this. We have a summary of our assignment and its details. Here we can submit a paper. If student does not submit it, that we can also submit it by here. When students submit, we will see these in our submission inbox, and we have certain options to modify anything. Now, I don't know why the sequence is not correct, because it says assignment part, this one, start date is here, due date is here, post date is here, and the maximum mark and export. All those things are actually somehow at this place. Now, I don't know why they are so. There is something in the Moodle basically that need to be aligned or so. Anyway, but they appear like this. So first of all, if you go to the submission inbox, we will see 0 submissions. No one submitted yet. But after they submit, we will see almost this. The percentage, if the report is generated, sometimes it can take about 24 hours. The reports are long. It may take 5 minutes to approximately 24 hours to generate the reports. Sometimes it can generate report in 2 minutes or so, but sometimes late. So what happened that we'll see these in percent here. And we can simply click this one to go to the feedback studio of the Turnitin straight. Here, if you click that percentage, we'll reach somewhere here. Now, here we have to click the originality to get the percent. Now, this is 8% copied. It is showing the sources. You can see the colors. It is showing the similarities in colors. From every source, I think it is showing 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1% or so. Now, what happened that we can reduce that? Again, this is due to those words, type 2 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, type 2 diabetes at multiple places. So we can use the filters option right here to actually reduce that if we want to. But we know that generally HEC guideline says less than 19%. But it depends, different departments do have different types of percentages and different publishers. If you are publishing a research paper or something, it could be different. And an instructor also have the option to use a different, we can say percentage. So it varies. Now, if we click any of the sources, for example, if we click this red color, we can see all those colored in red, which are from this source. We can see the details. And if we click this color, we'll see all those from the second source and third and so on. So the second one. Now, if we want to remove the source, we think that this one has copied the thing that is, is okay to use. So what we can do, simply remove it. When we click this, we can see that down there a button appears. It says exclude the source. Now we have to exclude, we click this, and we can also restore whenever we want. These excluded sources will always be there. And whenever we want to restore that, we can always go and restore the sources. Like for example, when we go to the excluded sources, we can always check anyone that we want and see restore, or we want to restore all of them, we can also do that. Then this is something that I just have found new. Whenever you're looking at an assignment, you want to give comments. Text comments are, I think people are already aware of. We can write down any comment in text, and certain suggestions are also there. Now there's an option in the Turnitin that we could also give a voice comment. We can record our voice. You simply say, and it will be easier for many of the instructors to actually say this. Sorry. So what happens if we have this problem that we are facing now? Student limit is reached. Okay. Now what to do? We can do, because faculty is not having any limitations or checking their work. So what we can do, we get students' files and we can submit them in what we call quick submit option. If you are aware of Turnitin, you may have an idea that when you log into Turnitin, you see these three things: all classes, joint account, and see a quick submit button. When you are in quick submit mode, you see this page. You select the submit button. It will ask you for certain option like search what. You customize your search, select repository or not, and say submit. Here you have two types of options: single file upload, multiple file upload, and cut and paste or zip or whatever. We can select a multiple file upload option and we can submit files, and simply we can choose file and upload all of them. And this will resolve that problem. We have student limit which is reached, and now we can resolve that in this way by uploading multiple files in your quick submit. So this is the solution that we found yet. But I think that teachers can actually reduce their, I say, Turnitin assignments preferably, like unnecessarily the small assignments, which need not to be checked that extent. This is not necessary that we make them as a Turnitin assignment. We can simply make them Moodle assignment, and that's it. But anyway, so this is all from my side, and house is open for any question and answers. Mike, because Zoom people will not be able to hear us.
This is Naomi from English department. So my question is that at times when we are matching the overview for the similarity, a lot of referencing is being done from student research paper. And when you try to access them to cross check, you get an error that says you do not have the permission or the right to access this specific student paper. It becomes problematic at that time. So any feedback for that?
We actually do not have any right solution, because this is also a problem we also face, that if it is to work of like Cambridge University student and someone have like copied it, what happens that they do have their copyrights, because they do own the copyrights because they publish it. So if you do not get the source material from the source, it will show only as clippings.
Yeah.
And we cannot get access to the source. So we have to decide by those clippings only, and we cannot get to the source, except for we specially ask permission from that department who have this work.
Yeah, at times it doesn't even show the clipping. It just props up that it's work of any student. But this surprises me that how my student got the access to copy paste from there, and I'm not getting the access to cross check.
what happens that a lot of material is actually available in those sites which are not legal. You know, when you see this virtual University of Pakistan, you can see many these sites which are, I think, EU Guide, EU Master, and things like that. And students are using that material, which is actually not their, domain, but they are doing it. But that is, of course, an illegal process. We don't have a solution for that. So,
That's Taniyat again. I just
Yeah.
want to ask that the settings that you mentioned in Moodle, like excluding less than 1% and stuff, can we edit them later? For example, I find 1%, I might find them significant, or I might them insignificant after I know where they're from. So can I edit them later after getting the similarity index?
Yes, we can do that. If we go back to the assignment settings, we can modify the settings and we simply ask to update the reports, and those will be updated. And we can get the new reports. Yes, sure.
Thank you so much for all the information that you have shared. How you have broken it down for Moodle, like we're adding a lot of filters to it. I use Turnitin directly. Is there actually a difference that you have, pinpointed? That if you're using Turnitin through Moodle or we're using Turnitin directly? Because on Moodle, we have a restricted number of papers that we can put. And hence, that's the reason I don't do that. So I directly log into Turnitin and, upload my papers and the report looks exactly the same. So what's the difference actually?
There's no difference in the report at all, because what happens that Moodle actually connect us to Turnitin Studio straight. And now what happens, the difference only is this, that if you are making the class in Turnitin and you are uploading student papers, then those students will not be removed after the semester. This will be there. And you have to manually remove them all to actually reduce the number that actually HEC is counting on our university out of those 300. So if our 30 students of previous semester are there already, the HEC will count those 330 as part of 300. But in Moodle, what happens that because we are facing this problem, they after each semester, after I think 1 or 2 months, I'm not sure, Dr. Sana can tell us, they actually remove all the students from Moodle, and those are automatically removed from Turnitin Studio. So what happened that those numbers are not counting towards the total of 320 that we have. But for that, we have to manually remove all of those. So this is also.
We have a few online queries. Dr. Ruxana is answering them, but still, if you want to read something out.
I think the maximum issues or challenges it seems faculty are facing is when they check multiple assignments of students and they feel that at that time Turnitin does not give them a similarity match. We have a clarity, I think, of some sort that plagiarism and similarity check are two different things, and that there are ways of finding out. Depends on if it has been cited, how much of the cited material do you allow in your assignment as permissible without stating it that it's plagiarism. Remember that for an assignment to be effective, lesser the use of cited material, unless it's key, and more engagement with that material to make your own framework or case or model is key, and that is required in a good assignment. And so for your assignment in your rubric, you could say that only so much percentage of your material will be allowed to be similar, and beyond that it will not be accepted. It's not plagiarism, but it will not be acceptable. I think according to the HEC, if I'm not wrong, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think 17% of similarity check was considered to be okay, and beyond that, they also said that we cite it as plagiarism. Also, many universities actually do not want citation per se, where you put up blocks of material from another person's quotations into your own text as a part of your own assignment. You use that resource to make your case, and so you're not using the same wording. So that makes a big difference. Unless you add assignments to the repository, Turnitin will not be able to check it as for similarity. So if you're checking them all at one time, they're still not added to the repository, and Turnitin will have no way of finding that. I see Sharoon says that there is another tool. I'm sure if you go onto the Google site and put up free tools for checking similarity or whatever, or there's lots of new tools that have come up and that are free, and you can use them. Moss plagiarism, it's called. So great, explore that. There you have YouTube also. Please, Gohar, make sure that all the shared resources on the chat are also shared with the participants when we send them the recording of this session. Are there any other questions still that remain?
Yes, I think Dr. Sana, your question.
A question, please.
Yes,
In
yes.
fact, I have two questions. First is that
Sure.
in advanced setting, you said, Turnitin advanced setting, you said, okay, there are some exclude small matches, and where you mentioned word and percentages. So my question is regarding words, that suppose we are working on a document which has more words which are being plagiarized, for example, sustainable development or tax evasion. So these are the words which are being coming into plagiarism. So if you want to mention those words, so should I put all these words with comma? What is the way of including more than one word which is coming into plagiarism?
We can select here as exclude two words. It will exclude all those two word matches, but of course, those will be unnecessarily as well. But I think that this will resolve the problem. If we say exclude matches by how many words? Say two words
Okay,
in the settings.
right.
So the two words matches will not be shown into your similarity index.
Right. And my second question is that you are telling us regarding this Turnitin through Moodle. So for if we are using this for assignment check, the plagiarism on assignments, so you are telling us with Moodle. So is it also possible to work through the original Turnitin software and to do this all or not?
We can always use that, because what happened in that case, we have to make a class in the Turnitin and add an assignment.
Right, right. It automatically.
This will automatically be checked. And in this, it will work in the same way,
Yeah,
because Moodle only does this, that it connects us to the Turnitin studio,
right.
and all the options are the same.
Same. Yeah.
Only this thing that we have to go to Turnitin and we have to add a class.
Yes.
It's a 3-step process. If you want it, I can show you here.
And Ms. Our last question is that in the start, you said there is a difference between similarity and plagiarism, and we are just talking about the similarity, not plagiarism. So is that difference?
Well, what happens that Turnitin or any other software, like we say, Moss, they have mentioned there's a plagiarism, check it. There's a check it one. There is I think a Viper. Viper is also a good one. And there are many through which we can check. All those are actually checking the material for similarity with online material available. And what happens that the instructor has to decide whether this is plagiarism or this is not. So basically, the plagiarism means that using material without permission of the author, or without the legal, we can say, process or whatever, because someone will not allow you to use their material, right? So what happens that it is telling us only similarity. Now we have to decide whether it's plagiarized, this similarity is plagiarism or this is not. And instructor job is quite a lot in that case.
May I repeat over here, Sabah, that I said earlier that 17% of similarity check is probably, please don't take my word on it, read through the FCC plagiarism policy and you will see how much of a similarity check is admissible. Beyond that, it becomes plagiarism. Like I said, a good assignment is not about verbatim copying of other people's text. Period. Even if you paraphrase with a citation and you are using exactly what the other person has said, that is not the purpose of a good assignment. A good assignment should be original. We're using other researchers, frameworks or other researchers' researches as a part that moves your assignment along, rather than establishing what your assignment. If you're saying the same thing that somebody else is saying, then you don't need to write. You say that my research or my assignment proved what also blah, 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 blah. I mean, Gross and Crandall, nickel and dime, or whatever, they have also said the same thing. You do not write it. The moment you write a text and there is more text writing in your assignment, it becomes beyond a certain level, it becomes plagiarism. Do check the FCCU plagiarism policy to understand this difference. I've seen many instructors who do not allow any similarity check, and they consider it all as plagiarism. G. Mustafa, you want to add to that? And please do fill in your poll. It's crucial. I see very few of you fill the polling. Are you all seeing it on the online one, participants? Are you all seeing the poll? If you can't, please quickly check the right box onto it. Right?
Okay.
G. Mustafa.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you very
Hello.
much. That was a brilliant talk, a brilliant presentation. I just want to point out one more concern, which we will about to see in the future. So we need to prepare ourselves for that thing, and that is the chat GTP.
What? Yeah, chat GPT. Yeah.
It is the software
Don't
which
talk
I can.
about it, Mustafa. You're giving people ideas.
So the problem is that I can write a pedagogical article. I can ask the software to please write a pedagogical article for me using only the material produced by Dr. Ruxana. I mean, I can ask the same things for that software to do the things. The problem is that the Turnitin seems not to have enough things in the future that the students are having the resources. And I can tell you at this particular moment, I just click the website, try to enter into the chat GTP. It is overwhelming. Like the server is like the rest of the world is like, the students are like overwhelming that software. So we need to find ways how to confirm whether a student is not using these type of resources to create their own assignments to, they can bypass all these things, whatever we have discussed, maybe in the near future. So we need to brainstorm ourselves for that as well.
Yes.
Yes.
You pointed out to chat GPT, which actually is the new threat, but there are already antidotes to that coming up. And we had put it up as one of the future challenges for our FR Faculty Retreat 2023. And perhaps, Mustafa, you would be the right person to talk about it, but we'll take it along. I've already collected a lot of material for the pros and cons of chat GPT, so we could work on that. May I say that for the time being, let's concentrate on what we have in front of us. Like I said, Sabah said, Turnitin does not necessarily check everything. Lots of text, some PowerPoints with some PowerPoints with images and 3D stuff is not necessarily checked. And there's a lot of creative work that can be an assignment. Does Turnitin check it all? I'm not very sure. So we are a step behind. We're only talking about text. G. Sabah, would you like to add something else?
I would like to add that, what happens that these things are coming in place, like many people can write papers for you. You go to Grammarly, you go to various sites, and they will show you the people you pay them, and they write the material for you, right? So this challenge will always be there. But one thing that I say to my students, that this software will never be overwhelming than the human brain, because the human brain develops it. So your teacher is right there to recognize, to identify if you do something like this. So here challenges for basically human mind, that how to deal with that situation. So, but these challenges will come. Thank you. Yeah, we have another question.
So just to answer Dr. Mustafa's, we have a chat GPT, if you can already search, that is chat GPT. I use it on assignments. And I have submitted a that I have written, and that I have submitted from chat GPT. And sometimes it feels between you. So maybe you can try chat GPT.
You will have to repeat the question, Sabah. We could not understand it online.
No, actually, he's responding to Dr. Mustafa that They
It's-
can't hear you. Can you use my?
Chat GPT 0. It's Chat GPT 0. So you can use that. I have tried it on code. So the person who has uses
No, the voice is not clear. Gohar, please, will you
Okay,
see that?
let me try to explain what's I don't know the name who's saying that the chat GTTV is some software where he can put it his own code and ask you to modify it, and you can differentiate between the code. So it means it does not generate the exact thing. I mean, you can differentiate it whether it modifies it. There are possibilities that you can differentiate between the material. I hope Turnitin will look for it in the further upcoming updated versions. Probably.
Aksa server, I see a lot of handshaking in front of your picture. I hope you're not trying to raise your hand. Is there any more questions? Yes, I think whatever intervention was made, it was about options for Chat GPT. If you go onto the Google Drive, I just did, there are lots of them that can help you differentiate. But I have seen faculty who have said it takes them a minute to see that it is not their student and it is Chat GPT that is used. So it's no rocket science. We have yet not beaten the human mind. So don't feel very threatened, dear friends.
Challenges.
Ji. Ji Sabha, your last word.
I hope
Thank you
that
so much.
also has learned it and they are trying to make some kind of solution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think clapping, Mustafa wants to clap for you. Sabha, you are really amazing in the way you talk like a robot. You are no less than a Chat GPT yourself when it comes to explaining things. It's like an artificial intelligence in action. I marvel at your capacity to do that. Thank you so much. And thank you, dear faculty, for hanging in there and asking all those questions. Thank you, Kamran, Aksa, Ibtisam. Thank you so much. Yes, Sabha is a genius. I know that. We use her for all the technical stuff, which is lost on me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See you soon. Okay. End of our January sessions, and perhaps you'll relax in February. But may I also extend an invite to the Conversation Cafe in person? I think it is on the 24th at Lucas Cafe. I would love you to join for 10 minutes if you can. We are honoring all of those performers and artists who kept us smiling during 2020 and 2021. So please do pay thanks, to show our gratitude, do join in person. It will mean a lot. Thank you so much. And February, you can relax. We'll not be bothering you a lot. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Here.